arrest out of South Tucson Municipal Court. We're going to be talking about your release conditions and your next court dates, all right? So first off, I need to tell you what your rights are, okay? You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney. And let me just look this up real quick. However, that's something that you'll have to bring up with South Tucson. I'm not going to be holding you in custody tonight, so if they're going to appoint you an attorney, they'll go ahead and handle that on their end. Now, you do have the right to be present for all of your court dates. However, if you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest, and those hearings will happen without you. Also, if you're convicted and you cannot be sentenced within 90 days because of your failure to appear, then you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. Now, it looks like you have a case pending where you were originally charged with criminal damage. A warrant was issued for your arrest. Now, I am going to release you on your promise to appear. As conditions of your release, you are not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You're not to have any contact with whoever the victims might have been, and you're not to return to the incident location. Now, I know you just mentioned the incompetency finding. That's something you're going to have to bring up over at South Tucson, okay? So your next court date is going to be November the 25th. That's 11/25, and that will be at 10 o'clock in the morning. You will get paperwork with all this information. Now, you need to make sure you go down to South Tucson and make this court hearing. If you don't, another warrant's going to issue. Do you understand?
It's fine.
All right, ma'am, you're excused.
Thank you very much. So I'll be released tonight.
You're being released on this case, ma'am. If you have any other holds in place, my order does not affect those holds.
Oh, this is it. That's the only one. Thank you so much, Your Honor. Have a good day.
And good evening, Judge Taney. This is the Spanish interpreter. The list doesn't indicate any Spanish speakers, but I don't know if that's been verified.
Let me just double check, as I think we might have one city court one that's a Spanish speaker. Jail, can you verify, do we need an interpreter tonight?
Yes, Your Honor, we have one Spanish speaker.
Okay, so it sounds like we have one.
Perfect, thank you. I'll stand by.
And Jail, what was the name of the Spanish speaker?
Last name Lopez, first name Rafael.
Did you get that, Ms. Gomez?
I sure did, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yep.
Then have a seat, please.
Hello, can I get your name?
John Harris.
All right, sir. So we are seeing you this evening because it looks like you've been arrested on a new misdemeanor domestic violence charge out of Green Valley Justice Court. This is your initial appearance. So we're going to be talking about your release conditions and next court dates. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. Now, you have been charged with one count of domestic violence assault. I am going to release you on your promise to appear. I've read everything that was provided to me. It also looks like the listed victim is okay with having contact with you and with you returning to the residence, so I'm not going to put any kind of contact restrictions in place. However, as conditions of your release, no alcohol or illegal drugs, you're not to possess any firearms or weapons, and you're not to commit any acts of domestic violence. I'm setting a DV arraignment hearing out in Green Valley. That will be on November the 13th at 8:30 in the morning. You will get paperwork with the date and time as well as where you need to go. Now, sir, you need to make sure you make your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, sir, you're excused. Hello, can I get your name?
Manny Hero has a third.
Okay, is your last name Rojas?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Rojas. We're seeing you this evening for a couple of different cases. You've got two cases pending in Pima County Justice Court. In both cases, warrants were issued for your arrest. Now, in one of them, you were charged with criminal trespass in the first degree, and then a failure to appear was added. In the other case, you were charged with theft by control, and a failure to appear was added there as well. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and it looks like Christian Salter was your attorney before, so I'm going to reappoint him on both of your cases. Now, we're going to be talking about your release conditions and next court dates. Now, I've reviewed both of your matters, and I am going to order you be held on a $500 cash or secured bond. This will be concurrent between both cases. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, not have any contact with any alleged victims or the incident locations. Your next court date will be a case management conference, and that will be on the 12th of November at 1 p.m. Now, sir, if you're released from custody, you need to make sure you make your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, you're excused.
Let me.
Hello, can I get your name?
Clay Wilson.
All right, sir. So we are seeing you this evening because you were arrested on some new misdemeanor charges out of Marana. It looks like you've been charged with 1 count of domestic violence disorderly conduct and 1 count of domestic violence assault. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. Now we're going to be talking about your release conditions and next court dates, and I have read everything that was provided to me. I am going to release you on your promise to appear. Now, as conditions of your release, you are not to possess any alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons, and you are not to commit any acts of domestic violence. Now, the pretrial services team was able to speak with the listed victim, and she's okay with having contact with you and with you returning to the home, so I'm not going to put any kind of contact restrictions. But if at some point she says you have to step away, you got to honor that. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir. So your next court date is going to be December the 10th at 10 o'clock in the morning out in Marana City Court. You will get paperwork with all this information. Now make sure you make that court date and all others that are scheduled. If you don't, then a warrant will issue. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you're excused.
Yeah. Speaker.
It's the Spanish speaker.
This is the Spanish speaker, you said?
Correct.
Let me just make sure I've got the file. Hello, sir. Can I get your name?
Buenas noches, señor. ¿Qué es su nombre?
López Calleja Rafael.
López Callejas, Rafael.
All right, sir. We're seeing you this evening because you've been arrested on some new misdemeanor charges out of Tucson City Court.
Bueno, señor, lo estamos viendo esta noche porque ha sido arrestado para cargos nuevos de delito menor en el Tribunal Municipal de Tucson.
You've been charged with 1 count of assault and 1 count of disorderly conduct. Those are both alleged to be domestic violence offenses.
Bueno, se le ha presentado un cargo de agresión y un cargo de conducta contra el orden público, y esos dos están bajo la categoría de violencia doméstica.
Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Ahora tiene el derecho de guardar silencio. Cualquier cosa que usted diga se podrá y se usará en su contra.
You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense.
También tiene un derecho a un abogado, pero no necesariamente a que le cueste al tribunal.
You have the right to be present for all of your court dates. However, if you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest and those hearings will happen without you.
También tiene el derecho de presentarse a todas sus audiencias. Sin embargo, si no se presenta, se emite una orden de arresto en su nombre y esas audiencias pueden seguir en su ausencia.
Also, if you are convicted and cannot be sentenced within 90 days because of your failure to appear, you could also lose your right to a direct appeal.
También, si resulta usted condenado y no se le puede imponer la pena dentro de 90 días, entonces puede perder su derecho de apelación.
Now, sir, I have reviewed everything provided to me, and I'm going to release you on your promise to appear. However, there will be some conditions.
Bueno, señor, he revisado su caso y lo voy a liberar bajo su promesa de regresar al proceso. Sin embargo, bajo unas condiciones.
First, you cannot possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs.
Primero, se le prohíbe portar o poseer drogas ilegales o alcohol.
You are not to possess any firearms or weapons.
Tampoco deberá de portar armas de fuego u otras armas.
You are also not to commit any acts of domestic violence.
También no ha de cometer ningún otros actos de violencia doméstica.
And you are not to have any contact at this time with the listed victim, Gisela Espinoza Perez.
Y tampoco se le prohíbe en este momento tener contacto con la víctima indicada, Gisela Espinoza, and that second last name, Your Honor, I'm sorry, Espinoza
Perez.
Pérez. Thank you.
And sir, you're also not to have any contact with her residence or her workplace.
Y señor, también se le prohíbe tener contacto en donde ella reside, su residencia, ni su lugar de donde ella trabaja.
Now, sir, I am going to enter not guilties on your behalf to these charges.
Y señor, voy a sentar declaraciones de no culpable de su parte a estos cargos.
And I'm going to set this matter for a hearing on December the 16th at 1:30 in the afternoon over at Tucson City Court with Judge Million.
Y voy a programar su siguiente audiencia el día 16 de diciembre a la 1:30 de la tarde ante la juez Million en el Tribunal Municipal de Tucson.
Now, sir, you need to make sure that you make your court dates. If you don't go to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Y señor, asegúrese de usted presentarse a esa audiencia porque si no se presenta, se emitirá una orden de arresto en su nombre. ¿Comprende?
Sí.
Yes.
All right, sir, you're excused. And thank you, Ms. Gomez, you as well, once you're finished with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. Señor, entonces está libre de retirarse. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Muchas
Thank you,
gracias.
Your Honor. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Good night, Your Honor.
Bendiciones.
Did that work? Okay. Oh, sir, can I get your name?
Joseph Gabriel Parente.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening because you've got a case pending in Tucson City Court where it looks like a petition to revoke your probation was filed. You were originally charged with criminal damage, and that was a domestic violence offense. And a petition to revoke was filed back on November the 10th of 2025, alleging that on or about November 9th, you committed the offense of disorderly conduct, also that you consumed or possessed alcoholic beverages, also that you engaged in threatening, abusive, coercive, or violent behavior. So, sir, we're going to be talking about your release conditions and next court dates tonight. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I'm appointing the City Public Defender's Office to represent you. You have a right to be present for all of your court dates. However, if you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest, and those hearings will happen without you. Also, if you are convicted and cannot be sentenced within 90 days because of your failure to come to court, then you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. So, sir, what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to enter denials on your behalf to the allegations listed in the petition. I am going to hold you on a $2,500 cash bond. As conditions of your release, no alcohol, illegal drugs, firearms, or weapons. You're not to commit any acts of domestic violence. You're also not to have any kind or contact whatsoever with the listed victim, her residence, or her workplace. Now, your next court date is going to be with Judge Million over at Tucson City Court on November the 26th at 1:30 in the afternoon. You will get paperwork with all this information. But, sir, if you bond out of custody, you need to make sure you make your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, sir, you're excused. Jail, are we still waiting for a PD?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please let me know when she arrives.
Okay.
Do we have somebody?
Your Honor,
Yep.
on Parente, was that cash or secured?
Parente, that was, cash.
Thank you.
Hello, can I get your name?
Daniel Rene Ramos Molina.
All right, just give me 1 second, so I want to make sure I've got your correct information here. So jail, this one looks like it was a warrant out of Superior Court. Don't think we can go forward if we don't have the public defender's office.
Your Honor, this is the jail record. We're just seeing him on a citation out of Justice Court.
Okay, so just the citation, not the separate warrant?
Yeah, the Superior Court will schedule him. We just need to see the citation.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, sir, so we're seeing you this evening because you picked up some new charges out of Pima County Justice Court. You've been charged with 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. Now, it looks like you've got a separate matter holding you. So what we talk about tonight is on this case is only going to affect this case. It's not going to affect any release conditions and any other matters. But since you're being held, sir, what I'm going to do is I'm going to order you be held on a $100 cash bond. I am going to appoint Janet Altschuler to represent you. And your next court date will be on November the 12th at 1 p.m. As conditions of your release, if you get out of custody, no alcohol or illegal drugs. Now, sir, if you're released in all your cases, you need to make sure you make all your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue. Do you understand?
Yes, Judge.
All right, so you're excused.
Okay.
There's somebody we can email at the PDs. Is there somebody we can email at the PDs to check on? Okay.
And Your Honor, this is Maribel Goodman from the County Attorney's Office. I'm trying to reach out to the assigned public defender, and also I'm trying to reach out as well to your office. Hopefully we can get somebody's cover.
All right, thank you, Ms. Goodman. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hello, sir. Can I get your name? Oh, jail, I think we're muted. Go ahead, please. Martin Nino, you said?
Yes.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening because you have 5 cases pending out of Tucson City Court. In one of them, you have new charges of criminal trespass as well as possession of drug paraphernalia. And in the other 4, you were on probation, and a petition to revoke your probation was filed back on October the 13th of 2025. In that petition, it alleges that you were placed on probation on September 12th of 2025. And it says that, or alleges that you failed to complete a CSM probation intake, and you failed to complete, 1 second, sir, a psychological evaluation and treatment. Now, we're not going to be talking about the facts or any evidence or anything like that tonight, because you do have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I'm appointing the city public defender's office to represent you. You have a right to be present for all of your court dates. However, if you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest, and those hearings will happen without you. Also, if you are convicted and cannot be sentenced within 90 days because of your failure to appear, then you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. Now, what I'm going to do first, sir, is I'm going to enter not guilties on your behalf to the new charges, and I'm going to enter denials to the allegations in the petition to revoke. I am going to order that you be held on a $500 cash bond. You are not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You're not to have any contact with any alleged victim or the incident locations. And your next court date, if you are in custody, will be a video review hearing on November the 18th, 2025 at 1:45 in the afternoon. If you're out of custody, then your next court date will be November the 26th, 2025 at 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, sir, if you're released from custody, you need to make sure you make all of your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
All right.
All right, sir, you're excused.
On it.
Oh, and Miss Goodman, just in case you didn't get the memo, Pettis and Yarborough were about to tomorrow.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Kemp was as well, but I think Kemp was misdemeanor charges. Hello, sir. Can I get your name?
Ronnie Ramirez.
All right, sir. So we are seeing you this evening because you have misdemeanor charges pending in Pima County Justice Court. You were originally charged with criminal damage, and a warrant was issued for your arrest back on October 31st, 2025. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. You have the right to be present for all of your court dates. However, if you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest, and those hearings will happen without you. Also, if you are convicted and cannot be sentenced within 90 days because of your failure to come to court, then you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. Now, sir, in this particular matter, I am going to order you be held on the warrant, which carries an amount of $250 that will be cash or secured. I'm going to appoint Janet Altschuler to represent you. As conditions of your release, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no contact with any alleged victim, and don't go back to the incident location. I'm also going to set a court date of November the 12th at 1 p.m. And you will get paperwork with all this information as well as the phone number so you can contact Ms. Altschuler. Now, sir, if you're released from custody, you need to make sure you make your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Is you releasing me?
I'm holding you on a bond, but if you post that bond, then you need to make sure you go to court. Otherwise, it's going to be right back here. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, you're excused.
Okay.
And Your Honor, just an update, I was able to get a hold of the public defender, and they should be appearing via Teams if permitted by the court.
Okay. And Ms. Goodman, I'm going to ask you to give it some thought because it's going to be a question that I probably raise once we get a public defender on the line, but I do have concerns if we don't have basically a body and a seat to be able to answer questions. If one of our felony individuals tonight has questions, because I do believe they have that right.
Okay, Your Honor.
Jail, I take it we're on hold until we get a defender.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good evening, Judge.
Hello, how are you, Ms.
Hello, I apologize, for our our attorney's non-appearance, but also my appearance because I was in the middle of a workout.
Oh, no, I'm glad you're on the line. Obviously, I'll let you figure out things with the attorney. I know that we're being broadcast, but one of my concerns is just making sure she's okay.
We're working on that secondarily. Her supervisor has been advised and we're working to locate her. So we'll take care of that, but I would like to work with you to address what we can do about IAs tonight. I can either wing it, or we can continue them to the morning and whatever you prefer.
Okay, so, and that was something that I also kind of put in Ms. Goodman's ear, because obviously, and Ms. Costick, you and I have worked together before, my concerns in making sure that everybody's due process rights are observed. Obviously, my concern is you would be winging it. I don't think that you've had a chance to look at pretrial service recommendations or interim complaints. Also, my other concern is because we're being broadcast and we're over Teams, if one of the individuals has a question that really normally would be asked in more of a confidential manner, I don't know how we do that right now. So I'm open to thoughts, but while I don't want to continue hearings till tomorrow, just because I don't know that we have too much other choice.
Yeah, Your Honor, the only thing that I could offer is I know that historically, these hearings were at 8 p.m. instead of 7. If the court is willing, I can spend the next 30 minutes at least getting myself somewhat up to speed and reviewing the information. I won't be able to address the concerns around client interaction and support, however, because I can't get down to the jail and review in 30 minutes time. So I hate to make defendants wait any longer than they need to have a meaningful hearing, but I also am concerned about the lack of meaningful hearing if our office is not prepared to represent them and fully advocate for their release conditions.
Ms. Goodman, did you want to weigh in at all?
No, Your Honor, I think it's appropriate. Nonetheless, I am concerned if I review the interims, I just want to make sure that if we are outside of the timeline, that if any time is needed to be waived, if the defendants had when they were arrested, I think we might be within the timeline for all defendants.
And I guess my other question, in terms of your recommendations, Ms. Goodman, were there any cases that you would plan to ask to dismiss this evening?
No, Your Honor. There's some release of pretrial and bonds. There's the dismissals.
Okay. Well, why
Is
don't
there anyone that we could address quickly on if there were PTS recommendations by the state that we could all perhaps stipulate to, or that the court would like to review and that I could just advocate and support that release?
My only concern with that is we still have those same issues. And while I know that if we're doing pretrial services, generally, those tend to not have a lot of questions, but sometimes they do. Do we have a way to check to see if there's anybody that's going to be outside the 24 hours if we bump them?
So, Your Honor, what I could do if the court would like, if there were stipulated pretrial services releases, I can get down to the jail before they're processed out. If that would make the court more comfortable, and I could get myself into the pit and offer myself for any questions or concerns that individuals have.
Okay. I would feel more comfortable with that. Obviously, it's not ideal. I do thank you both for getting creative here. But Ms. Goodman, let me see here.
Ms. Goodman did forward me her recommendations, but Maribel, if you would be willing to, I have the pretrial services website up. If you would be willing to just simply direct me to which defendants you were supporting release, I'll quickly review their pretrial services workup
Right. So,
and then make a note for myself about who I need to find in the pit.
all right, Ms. Costick, it looks like one of them is Eric Hale. He's got a burglary
Okay.
charge.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just going through here real quick. It looks like Michael Riddick as well.
Okay.
I think those are the only two, but Ms. Goodman, you could probably correct if you see any others. But Ms.
I
Costick,
don't,
you don't, sorry, go ahead.
Your Honor. Those were the only two for tonight.
All right, so jail, are you able to bring up Mr. Riddick and Hale? We will go ahead and do theirs, and then we'll go ahead and bump everybody else till tomorrow morning. And just for the record, what I will put in the orders, and this will be for Rodolfo Solis, Jennifer Ahiri, Ernest Model, Rafael Noriega, Madison Rossi with 2 interim complaints, as well as Crystal Walk, is that time limits are waived given the particular circumstances of this evening. Ms. Costick, if you want me to put in over defense objection, I'm absolutely happy to do that, but I do think it's appropriate.
Your Honor, I'll take no position.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to, once we get either Mr. Riddick or Mr. Hale, and Ms. Costick, if you want to go ahead and ask them if they want you to come down for questions, that's fine too.
Okay.
Hello, can I get your name?
Eric Hale.
All right, Mr. Hale, we are seeing you this evening because you've been booked on a felony charge of burglary in the 3rd degree. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I will be appointing the public defender's office to represent you. Now, right now, the public defender, there was an issue, so we had to get somebody to step in last minute. Ms. Costick works with that office. She is appearing on Teams. I don't know if you can see her on one of the screens. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be talking about your release conditions and your next court date. So you do, so I have read everything provided to me, including the pretrial services workup, as well as the interim complaint. The state is recommending pretrial services. Ms. Costick, that's my intention. Any thoughts?
Your Honor, we would support that. I see from a brief review of Mr. Hale's pretrial services workup that he has a low risk to reoffend. He's a 1 and a 1 on the PSA. He has no felony criminal history. And this is a 3rd degree burglary, not a residential burglary. I think for all of those reasons, that would militate in favor of pretrial release.
All right, so sir, I am going to release you to the supervision of pretrial services. As conditions of your release, you will have to follow any directions they give you in terms of monitoring or treatment. No alcohol, illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. Your next court date will be a preliminary hearing on December the 1st at 1:30 in the afternoon. Now you need to make sure you stay in touch with your attorney, and you also need to make sure that you make all your court dates. If you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir. So another question I was going to ask you, because this is a rather unique situation, Ms. Costick has offered to come down to the jail if you have any questions. Do you have any questions that you would need to ask the public defenders tonight?
Not at the moment. Yes, I would like to follow up with Ms. Costick. Yes.
Okay.
So Mr. Riddick or Mr. Hale, what you can do is you're going to be released with our phone number. If you don't need answers tonight on anything, if you call our offices at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning and ask for the chief assistant, Sarah, I'll answer any questions you have while we await assignment of attorney for you.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
All right, sir, you're excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Riddick, Your Honor, is the other.
Yes. Oh, I think I may have just approved the wrong one. Did I approve Hale with you?
That was Hale, Your Honor, but I'm seeing from Mr. Riddick that he's in custody on other charges. I'm not sure pretrial services would be an appropriate outcome for him at this time.
That is correct. All right, so sir, just give me 1 second. All right, so Mr. Riddick, you are here this evening because you've been arrested on a felony count of promoting prison contraband. Now, we're not going to be able to have your hearing tonight. I need to make sure that there's a public defender at the jail who can go ahead and assist you, especially because you have warrants in another matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this to tomorrow morning. I do apologize for the confusion and delay, and we'll go ahead and get you seen then. All right? Okay, I see you nodding. You're excused, sir. Thank you.
Your Honor, may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
This is Chrissy with Pretrial Services. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was wondering if it's possible to have the COs call Mrs. Costick and then have both parties on mute while they discuss anything.
Jail, is that an option?
Give me 1 second, Your Honor.
And I guess my other question, Ms. Costick, I don't know if you're on a laptop or you're on a phone. So if you're in a phone, that's a non-starter.
I'm not. I'm on my laptop, Your Honor. You're lucky
Okay.
that I take my work computer home with me every night, just in case.
All right, so Hale was the first one.
What that doesn't do, Your Honor, though, is resolve the ability to have reviewed the pretrial services workup and
Correct.
the
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
and just where, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah, in my experience, most people have, when counseled, been willing to wait an additional 8 to 10 hours for a greater likelihood of being able to be released.
Okay.
I can't speak for everyone in the pit right now, obviously,
Right.
but I do know that there have been other occurrences like this, and we have continued to the morning.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just, I feel more comfortable, especially because some of the felonies this evening are potentially serious. So,
Okay. Well, given that this county over complies with the law, because I believe the law is 24 hours and not 12 hours, I think we should be good on everyone, it looks like.
Ms. Goodman, does that match? Because I know you were going to look at time as well.
It does, Your Honor. And the good thing, Your Honor, is that this evening's calendar wasn't too large. So if it does get rescheduled in the morning, there shouldn't be an issue.
And I can give our assigned attorney for the morning calendars that heads up to expect a slightly heavier morning.
And we'll do the same thing on our end. All right, so we've got those two out of the way. As long as the parties are okay with the blanket statement I gave before, including the defendant's names, I can take care of the paperwork on my end and excuse everybody. Does anybody have an objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so thank you again, both of you, and you in particular, Ms. Costick, and thank you, Jail, and we're adjourned for this evening. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.